So you're into the Team Canada journey already?
Oh, for sure. And going back to our previous note, I love having no cap there. Yeah, no, we're into it. We had a really good meeting in Calgary, a management coaches meeting with our players. We have our schedule. Our first in-person meeting as a staff is going to be at the Hall of Fame weekend. We all have our marching order. We're going to go and see as many games as we can. We want to give every player an opportunity to make that team. But yeah, we're deep into it. We're excited about the season starting and getting to start to evaluate players and let them put their best foot forward.
How do you avoid it being a distraction, Doug? Because you do have a day job.
Yeah, and I guess I've done it a couple of different times too. And you're watching these games regardless. You know, that's what you do in hockey. Everyone, it's really not a job. We get to watch hockey for a living. Now I'm just watching maybe different players than like when you would go to watch the Edmonton Oilers. Let's say there's certain players you just wouldn't watch because they're not available. Now you're watching them for a different reason, and it heightens your awareness at games, which I think is good. But it doesn't really change your day-to-day how you operate. At least for me.
From a roster compilation standpoint, how much farther along do you feel you are because of Four Nations?
Oh, quite a bit further. I think going into those four teams certainly have an advantage. It's not like the Olympics in 10 and 14 where you remember some synergy that may have been there and can they reconnect it. You know, a lot of things that were picked up by the head coach and his staff, you know, it's 12 months. It's not that much hockey that's been played since then. So I think those teams have an understanding not only how they maneuver on the ice, but how they maneuver in the locker room, how they move with each other. It's a big benefit. So I think there's going to be some synergy from what we picked up in Montreal and Boston and the Four Nations.
How involved are you in the logistics of traveling and getting the team to Italy as opposed to just, is that a Hockey Canada issue rather than what you have to worry about?
Yes, well, it's Scott Salmon has been doing that for a long time. He's fantastic, but he and I went over to Milan last spring. We looked at the venues, where they were, the village. Looked at
the venue wasn't finished when you were there. What are you talking about?
No, that's But it just how we can maneuver. We want to share that with the players. They're there now, actually taking a look at it. So we're aware of it. We turn that over to Hockey Canada. That would be, you know, that's a full-time job preparing for that.
Now you do know that the rink's 4 feet short, right?
I do know that. Yes.
It's 196 feet.
What I don't know is where they're taking it out of, though. Are they taking it out of, you know? And that's actually a question I'm trying to get the answer to. Is it coming out like in all three zones a little bit, or is all coming out of the neutral zone, or it's interesting because you might have to pull up tapes of the old Otter, the old Boston Gardens to find out how you get through the neutral zone.
Well, those were 185, not 196. So there was, Well, or you could do what Pittsburgh did: just don't tell anybody and move the line, and then let Mario be good behind the goal, right?
We don't control the paint.
Would you have a preference? Like, would you squeeze it behind the net? Would you squeeze the neutral zone, or where do you fall on that?
I don't really know because we haven't seen it. You know, it's you know, we play on the same size ice surface for so long here, and then you go to, I guess there's the hybrid in Finland, and then there's the international ice. The best players are going to pick it up quickly, and it's the same for everybody. I don't think anyone's going to be playing on an ice surface that size that's going to gain an advantage going into it. So. But it does create room in the zones, or it takes space from the zones if they just take it out of the offensive or defensive zones and keep the neutral zone the same. So I don't really have an answer to that one, and that's why John Cooper makes the big bucks. He's got to figure that out.
What was your biggest takeaway from your time in Calgary and Kananaskis?
It's always, John, that you realize that you're just a small part of a much bigger team, and that's Team Canada's Olympic program, not just hockey.
Right.
You're there with the pair. You're there with hockey people, whether it's the pair, the women, and the men. The synergy that they get with each other, the excitement that you have. Like we go there, and we're very fortunate. The NHL people, this is how we make our living. We all do very well. These people, this is a passion for a lot of these people to do this, and it's an awakening. Then you have like seminars on what to expect at the village, and it's a different animal, and it's something I think everyone embraces, being uh, not the show, just part of the show.
It sort of becomes real, doesn't it?
It does. That's when it becomes real for everybody. You do some sizing of Olympic apparel. You see the village. You see what your room's going to look like. You talk about venues and how you're going to get there. This one, there's no Olympic lane, so the traffic is going to be different. So you just pick up a lot of information, and that's eye opening to people that have never been through it. And unfortunately, we only had, I think, a couple of people that have been through the Olympics, but we haven't gone there since 14. And so it's new to a lot of people.
And there was no thought of a ball hockey tournament?
No. Babs is going to put that one in his own Hall of Fame.
What did you learn the most from Four Nations?
I think going into the Four Nation, I wasn't aware that the passion the players are going to have to play in that event. Mm-hmm. It to me, going into it, I got to be honest, I thought this was a sort of a test drive for the Olympics. Everybody was going to feel each other out, and then the participants, the players themselves, went there to win, and everything got heightened very, very quickly. And so I learned the passion of the players has never been higher. One of the things that I talk about is that, when I started with Team Canada, my first opportunity was in 2002. And I always understood that, you had to be honest with it. You were born on third base when you worked for Team Canada. All you had to do was get home. Now I said, when you go to this Olympics, we're still on third base with no strikes, but there's a few other teams are on third base with one strike. And so it meaning the parity has never been closer. And the desire of the other countries to win has never been higher. So we have to be at our best to be competitive. We believe we will be competitive, but parity is here in the NHL. Parity is here internationally too. And I think our guys are excited for that challenge.
How much concern do you have? I mean, let's face it. In Four Nations, everybody's going to talk about the first 9 seconds of one game. Everybody's going to talk about exactly what went on physically. But you can't do that at the Olympics, Doug. Those rules are different. Was there lots of discussion about that in August?
Not really. We know that's not going to be part of the equation. And quite honestly, I don't think it would be part of the equation, even if it was NHL rules. That was just, like they said, that was like three guys got on a thread and wanted to have some fun, and good for them. They did have fun, and we had fun too, and it did build the tournament up. I think to win at this level, it goes back to hockey hasn't changed. If you win both fronts of the net, offensively and defensively, you have a good chance to win. We're going to be a strong skating team. We're going to be a physical team. We're going to forecheck. We're going to play hard. And besides those 9 seconds, that's how the competition wants to play too. I don't think it's not going to be a no-hitter by any stretch.
Right.
But I think strong physical hockey, and I think that's the way that these guys play with their club teams, and that's how they're going to play there.
I'm sure you thought of it, but just how much of an advantage do the players that won the Four Nations have in the consideration for a roster spot for Milan?
Again, that's that synergy that was built up. Mm-hmm. I don't think that if the U.S. had have scored in overtime that we would be reinventing the wheel. These are the best players for a reason. Now, other players that like, I go to Robert Thomas with our team. He wanted to make that team. He got an injury early last year, couldn't play in October, November. And then when we had to pick the team, he didn't have his resume wasn't big enough. Now we have another month. So there's players, Suzuki's another player. Like there's players that were on the cusp that are going to push. And there's going to be injuries. And I think that everyone knows that there's a core group that are going to return, like not saying regardless of how they play at the start of the year, but there's a group of guys that their resumes are deep enough, but there's another group that's coming that are going to get the opportunity to put themselves onto this team. Is it going to be 60, 70, 80% returning? Not a lot, as I said, not a lot has changed since we picked that last team, but we're going to give everyone the opportunity.